In today's brief video, I want to speak to you guys about dealing with boredom after you quit smoking weed. Looking back on my own journey with addiction to nicotine, THC, adult media content, and energy drinks, I learned a lot when it comes to being bored when you first quit smoking weed. Now, I'm going to make a series on this topic, and this is video number 1 of what's going to be a 3-part series. Weed does not cure the boredom, and I learned this firsthand, and let me give you an example. Weed simply makes you content with being bored. So let me say that again. Weed does not cure the boredom. It makes you content with being bored. Back when I was living at home, smoking weed all the time, there was lots of things in my life that I not only wanted to be working on, but that I needed to be working on. I've always said, even though I had struggles with addiction, I was always a very ambitious individual, a very motivated individual. And I would go home at night, and instead of working on maybe creating a YouTube channel or working on my other businesses, I would just smoke weed and watch Netflix. And I was content. I was just very, very content with doing that. And I actually think this is one of the most dangerous side effects of marijuana addiction or THC addiction. It makes you content with being bored. And to a large extent for myself, it made me content not hitting those next levels in my life that I knew I was capable of hitting. So that's the first thing. The next thing that I realized after I quit smoking weed was, wow, I'm a fairly boring person. So it wasn't until I developed in my kind of sobriety and recovery process from THC that I started to become a more exciting individual. Like in the beginning, when I first quit, weed was a personality trait. Weed was my lifestyle. So when I quit, I now had to start to build and develop a new lifestyle. I had to build and develop new relationships, new hobbies, new interests. And that definitely didn't happen overnight. It took time. And there was definitely a period of like exploration into, Jesus, Frank, like what are you actually interested in? What things do you actually want to be doing? And for me personally, YouTube was a huge outcome of that. I got really into camera equipment, microphones, watching videos, learning how to film, how to make a better channel. I got really into hobbies involving firearms and target shooting. I got really back into fitness and nutrition. So there was a series of things that I slowly picked up in time that sparked my interest. I got really reinvested into my chiropractic business. And I don't know what it's going to be for you guys without personally talking to you, which is something we could do if you get a consultation with our offices. I don't know what your interests are. Is it photography? Is it playing an instrument? Is it sports? Is it writing? Is it you're building your own business or trying to develop further in your current career? I have no idea. And I don't think you're going to find out what that is until you start to stack up a few weeks, a few months of being sober. Because all of a sudden, when you take the weed away, you're going to be sitting there in your room watching Netflix or doing whatever, saying, wait a second, I'm bored as hell. Like, I'm a boring person. I need to go do something that invigorates me. I need to go do something that excites me. And then you're going to start to go create those next highs. I always tell people, I love saying this, my life is no longer about chasing a high from a drug, whatever that may be. My life is now about creating new highs, consistently and continually creating new highs. And I think it's awesome that I have that opportunity because when I look back, I was a pretty boring person. I had to change a lot of things about myself. Now, the other thing that I learned when I quit smoking weed was I like having a problem. When I was stuck in addiction, I had a constant problem. I had something that had to constantly be addressed. And I think this is true for a lot of people. I think people inherently enjoy and need to have problems, things that they have to deal with, things that have to occupy their time. So I learned when I quit smoking weed and other addictions that I've quit, I had to create new problems for myself, but ideally healthy problems for myself. How am I going to get to the next level on my YouTube channel? How am I going to get to the next level in my chiropractic business? How am I going to hire that first employee? How am I going to pay myself more money so I can go buy a generator for my house or something? I don't know. I find that I continually need to challenge myself. Addiction was a continual challenge. So when I took that away, I was missing a large problem in my life. I was missing a challenge in my life. And I had to go create new challenges. I guess that would be a better way to phrase this. And new problems in order to not get bored. Because if I don't have a problem on my desk, or if I don't have a challenge that I'm facing, it's guaranteed that I'm going to become very, very bored. That's just the type of person that I am. And I think a lot of people who struggle with marijuana addiction or alcoholism or any addiction for that matter are the same way. We need to be challenged. We need to have problems, and we need to have the opportunity to be able to work on those challenges and pursue those problems and come up with solutions to them, because that's essentially what addiction is. And, you know, I say when we quit one addiction, we have to replace it with another one, obviously something that's going to move the needle forward in our lives, except to the fact that weed does not cure boredom. It simply makes you content with being bored. And this is one of the worst side effects, in my opinion, of THC addiction. And then mindset number 2 would be, what challenges or what problems can you start to create for yourself in a healthy way that will give you something to pursue, that will give you something to chase after? What highs is it that you can begin to chase after? And the last thing I'll say is this. I would recommend a multi-layered approach to this. Sometimes people will invest all of their energy into exercise. Well, God forbid that person gets in a car accident and they can't exercise anymore. Now they're at a high risk of relapse. Thank God I had YouTube when COVID hit and temporarily halted my other businesses. That was a real problem for me. I'm not a guy that likes to sit still, as I'm sure many of you guys aren't either. But I had YouTube. I have something to do every single day. I can film, I can make media content. So, I had a relationship at this point that I cared about. So I would just say have a multi-layered approach of things that you are going to chase after, things that you are going to pursue. Because when one of those things starts to waver, then you have other stuff to fall back on or other stuff that you're invested in. And I think that's ultimately how you prevent yourself from getting bored, and in turn getting bored and falling into relapse, with that multi-layered approach of chasing multiple different highs, or rather creating multiple different highs for yourself throughout life. This is part 1 of what's going to be a 3-part video series. Let me know in the comments below, what highs are you guys creating for yourself or chasing after now that you're starting your kind of sobriety and recovery process? I will see you guys in the comments below. I can't wait to hear.